Welcome, Jason Boyce. Super excited for you to join us on Monetizing Your Mental Capital. And yeah, we were just talking about how Jason and I know a lot of the same people, but we've never had an opportunity for he and I to get together and get to know each other. So I'm actually going to open that question up here because a lot of our listeners not know you either. And so, Jason, why, in terms of monetizing your mental capital or taking knowledge and turning it into a product and creating an intangible revenue stream, is what we like to call them on this podcast. When you want to create one of those, why Jason? Why should we be listening to you around this set of expertise?
Oh, it's a great question. First of all, I've made more mistakes than anyone else in the space, and I've learned from them all. That's the key part, right? It's one thing to make mistakes, but it's another to learn from them all. I mean, I started selling in e-commerce in 2002. I just left the Marine Corps, did 4 years in the Marines, and then I went to work for about 5 minutes at Johnson & Johnson because I wanted to get sales training. J at the time had one of the best sales training programs in the world, and I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad as a book in the Marine while I was still a Marine, and it changed my thinking about what I wanted to do professionally. I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. Went to J&J, got amazing sales training, met my wife. That was the best part of J&J, honestly. The sales training was great, but meeting my wife was the best part. And then started a business. And the sales training was really important. 2002, we figured out we had this company called Overture. We had a friend that worked there, the tiny office in Pasadena. Overture had invented pay-per-click advertising. So we figured out how to be they literally did. They got later bought by Yahoo, and then Yahoo sued Google for stealing their technology. I think maybe they're still paying them a licensing fee on it. And so we were on the first page of search results with our little goofy company selling drop shipping basketball hoops called superduperhoops.com. And that was our start. That's how we got started. And then Amazon called a year later and said, "You guys are everywhere on the search engines. How did you do that? We want you to sell your hoops on Amazon.com." And then that started really a 17-year journey with that series of brands that we developed. And I mean, Amazon is a very, very challenging channel. I sold to brick and mortar stores. I sold to Walmart. I sold to regional sporting goods stores. I sold online. I sold on every other online marketplace. Amazon is unique and requires a different thought process. And you have to really get your ass kicked on that platform, Will, for a period of time before you figure it out. And I'm one of the guys that have got my ass kicked on that platform for more years than just about everybody else out there. For some of the other old guys, my friends like Kevin King and Steve Simonson, they were out there even longer than I was. But that's what it takes to understand that Amazon is ass backwards. It's very, very different. You can't apply your learning model for brick and mortar stores or .com to Amazon. It just won't work. So hopefully that answers your question. It's kind of a long-winded answer.
I think it does. I mean, that's how it works, right? You get your butt kicked, and eventually, you kind of get an idea for how to go about what's there. That, as entrepreneurs, that's what we do. We pick ourselves up off the ground, wipe the blood off our face, and we just keep running. You've probably heard like Elon Musk was like, entrepreneurship is like chewing glass and staring into the void. Like just this level of grit that you have to lean into that, and it is what it is, right? You have to dig in.
I also just to pile on to what you're saying, and I totally agree with Elon Musk. And he's been a genius. He's created so many 0 to 1 companies that you can't even count them anymore. I'm not trying to equate what I've done in my entrepreneurial career with Elon Musk by any stretch of the imagination, but it's like you get to a point in your entrepreneurial career where you're like, oh, I just got my ass handed to me. This is normal. I'm not going to panic anymore. I'm just going to figure it out. Mm-hmm. And that you just do that over and over, rinse, repeat. Mm-hmm. That's why I really connect with entrepreneurs. Before we jumped on the call, you mentioned James Thompson. I love James. I love sitting down with entrepreneurs and saying, oh, remember that time you got steamrolled? How did that go? Or look, I'm in the middle of getting steamrolled right now. This is what I'm doing. This is actually fun. We're like, I think I always get sadist and masochist interchanged, but I think it's sadist. You love that pain because you know something good is going to be born from it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Well, and I knew I had gotten to a good place when I turned to my wife, she's not an entrepreneur. Her dad worked for Lockheed Martin, like he was a rocket scientist. Like, as stable as they come as far as jobs go. But I knew I'd reached a new level when I had gotten her to the point where she was like, "Man, I think we might need to go buy a rental property." And I was like, "Wait, what? Like, how did we get to a place where you actually
You broke
agreed
through.
to like get to this steamrolling stuff?" Love it.
Good job,
So,
Ron. Good work
hey,
there.
it was a good moment. Remembering where that was, it was a good moment. So, as you think back, and I love the literally one of the very first pay-per-click advertisers ever anywhere. What was the name of the who?
Overture. It had this tiny office in Pasadena. We'd go there once a month and go, "Hey, can we get more traffic?" It was a revelation. It was 5 cents a click for everything we were selling.
5 cents a click.
Yeah, it was magic.
It was like printing money.
It was a magic. We were printing money. That's what it was like. It didn't last long. Everyone else figured it out and cracked the code, and then 5 cents went to 50 cents, went to $5. And then you had to get good at what you were doing, right?
Yeah,
You couldn't just
then it wasn't a free for all anymore.
That's right.
So what was the name of the product? It was a Hoops something.
SuperDuperHoops.com was our first .com, and we were drop shipping other people's brands of basketball hoops. This is long before we developed our own brands. But it was just, we didn't even carry inventory. I didn't even know how to manage inventory those first 2 years because we never had to buy it until we sold it, which was, again, a magical period in e-commerce when you can make money without having to worry about the stress of inventory sitting on the shelf too long, right?
So as you consider that phase, was that the first time that you began to monetize knowledge, or did you have a time where you did consulting work, even maybe pre-Marine Corps? Like where did you very first get this idea? Holy crap, I know something that I can get paid for.
So I would say on the product side, and we did a little bit of consulting. People said, "Oh, you guys have had a lot of success on Amazon. Can you help us?" We weren't good at it because we were only focused on our brand. And like right now, as a founder of an agency, we do not manage our own brands because I know myself, and I know if I manage my own brand, it's going to get the majority of time. And so we only manage clients' brands right now. But a really good example of monetizing, it's sort of this intellectual capital and this learnings is, like I said, we started as a drop shipper. We didn't make our own products, but we developed relationships with customers while we were selling other people's products. And we would take it to Spalding. We would take the knowledge that we learned that customers liked or disliked. We would go back and say, "Hey, you got this product XYZ. If you change happy to glad here and you add this additional thing, we think this product that's doing $1 million a year could do 5. Because, well, how do you know that? Well, we're not geniuses, but the customers are telling us. We're reading in the negative reviews. We're having conversations with them. We're capturing that feedback that you would call it today review sentiment analysis. We're organizing that information for you, and we're giving it to you with a bow on it. A gift wrapped package. Brand, you should do something about this. Of course, the brand wouldn't do anything about it. And we would get frustrated. We'd be like, screw it. Let's build our own brand. We could do this. It can't be that hard. We don't know it. We don't know how hard it is. How hard can it be?
And it can't be that hard.
It can't be that hard. And I literally got a plane ticket to Hong Kong and didn't know anyone there. And, just bumped into some people and said, "Hey, anybody who's got factories in China?" And then I took a train into China, into Guangzhou, and started having conversations and not knowing if I was ever going to make it out of China again. It was like the early days, and started developing relationships with factories to bring our own ideas and consolidate some of this customer feedback into better products. First for basketball hoops, and then recreational products like foosball tables, air hockey tables, etc. And that, to me, Will, I don't know, maybe you disagree, but that to me is a way to monetize that sort of intellectual understanding capital to build a better mousetrap that's cooler, higher quality, better performing, that customers love and they tell their friends about, so they should go buy one as well.
Interesting. I think this episode's going to take a different tack than we have on some other ones. And I love like following the conversation down in the journey. There was an episode I did with another guy and we totally went down the AI rabbit hole. We just went and chatted about that the whole time. So with yours, I think this idea of, we're talking about intangible revenue streams a lot. Let's talk about how you can take some of that mental capital and upgrade your current tangible revenue streams, right? Let's talk about applying some of that. So you were seeing a bunch of patterns in the reviews, and these were on products that you were drop shipping, and you were taking that to the manufacturer like, hey, can we get a better mousetrap here? And they were like, yeah, no, we're making plenty of money on the mousetrap we have. Don't need you, to change any of these things.
Exactly right. And what they were missing, Will, was that their conversations that they were having were with a buyer at a big brick and mortar sporting goods store or Walmart. And that buyer's not talking to the end consumer of their product. They're just trying to get the best possible deal to squeeze out sales and margin. And what we had, which we figured out was gold, was a relationship with the end user and the final customer. They weren't wise enough to realize that we were bringing that to them, because they were like, why am I talking to these guys? Who's Super Duper? Why are we talking to these guys about this? I just cut a $5 million PO with Dick's Sporting Goods. Why am I talking to these guys? They missed the point. And then we came on later and started kicking their ass on Amazon and channels. Then they paid attention, right?
Then they were like, wait, what were the things that they said we should improve about our product?
That's right.
Because at this point, it was actually, it was Kevin Lee that I was talking to about AI, by the way. So I love that we're headed down this rabbit hole. So as you applied this one piece of knowledge, you figured out, wow, wait a minute, customers are giving me knowledge in the form of negative reviews, and I'm going to analyze them for sentiment and patterns, and I'm going to make a better mousetrap.
Yeah, and speaking of AI, it's so great. I mean, we used to have teams in the Philippines that were copying and pasting and consolidating themes in the reviews. And we even did that as an agency. Now this is actually part of our service to our clients. We're capturing it. We're using AI to do the review sentiment analysis. We're capturing these themes and submitting that in an easy to understand report to our clients so that they can talk to their product managers now and develop the next best mousetrap for their product category.
Interesting. So are there other, obviously, reviews are one place that you can look for nuggets of monetizable knowledge for your current tangible revenue streams. So that's a natural feed that's happening for the product feedback loop. What are other ways that you've seen individuals create a feed around creating more loops, more ways that they can identify things?
Well, so much information. If we're speaking only about Amazon, there's a lot of it. Like reasons for return is a great, the NCX reports are really helpful. Questions and answers, Q&A are really interesting. And it's not just the negative information, really, Will. To be honest with you, we had a 5-star review. We had this expandable table tennis net. We were one of the first to introduce that. And, when we introduced it, I was like, this is great. Let's target this to people who have a kitchen table in a 1-bedroom apartment. They can turn their kitchen table into a ping pong net. And we started to see 1, 2, and 3 5-star reviews for the product from a grandmother who was saying, one of them was specifically from a grandmother who said they took this set on their trip. Like there was like a travel set. And we didn't even use the words travel set in the keywords. But as soon as we saw 2 or 3 of those reviews, not only did we make some tweaks to the product on the next reorder, but we also updated the listing. And, that's one of the 7 avenues. Listing and product are 2 of the 7 avenues that we look at when we put brand strategy together. We added travel set, and we put copy and keywords in there. We researched travel games and had tremendous success growing the product for a use case that we hadn't even thought of.
I mean, when you think about it from that perspective, someone comes and I'm kind of analyzing myself as I go through and look at Amazon listings in my own buying pattern. I'm not thinking about this from the perspective of what did the seller think I was going to use. I'm looking at my job to be done. Like if we're talking about Clayton Christensen's job to be done model, and like for him, it's about the job of a milkshake. And to boil his entire strategy down into 2 seconds, he basically helped McDonald's figure out how to sell more milkshakes, not by identifying better advertising strategies. He went and interviewed the people who were drinking the milkshake, and he said, "What did you hire last time you wanted this job to be done?" And the people in the parking lot were like, "What?" And he started to figure out, oh, a banana, a Snickers bar. Like they were looking for things that would fill them up on their way to work and last up till lunch. And once he understood, oh, that's the job to be done. The job to be done is entertain me on a long, boring drive to work and fill me up. Then he could iterate on the product, and he made the straw bigger. I mean, I love what you said there. Like, it's about the job to be done. Like, if you haven't considered the job to be done and the knowledge around that.
Or put another way, this book over my right shoulder, The Amazon Jungle, my co-author was Rick Cesare. Rick Cesare is a legend in the DRTV advertising space. And he taught me that many years ago, we outlined it in the book, features tell, benefits sell, right? What are the benefits of your product? And are you targeting the customers looking for that benefit? It's almost like the product is second nature, right? That's the second bit. Sure, you want to compare features and all that stuff. That's got to be in there. But if you're not leading with what the customer who's giving you their credit card is hoping to get out of the product, you're missing the whole point.
Well, and you think about, I mean, I'm starting to think about some of my journey on Amazon, and like this table tennis thing has really got me thinking about that. Like, I may be selling a screwdriver, but the customer sees it as a hammer.
That's right.
They're like,
that's right.
They're thinking, okay, can I wind up and get enough force that nail will actually go into the wall? And you're like, no, it's a screwdriver. And they're like, this thing's a hammer, right? And so like, it doesn't matter how hard you want it to be what you had solve your problem.
Yeah.
What it really is about is their problem. And they may be just different enough from you that you lose the sale because somebody else had something that looked a little more like what their problem was. So other places. So you mentioned reasons for return and some of those reports. You mentioned Q&A.
The question
Q&A is an amazing one. I mean, what an interesting.
Really informative.
So I've wondered about this because I often use the Q&A. I don't know if I'm like, I know there are some people who do it more and some people do it less. I'm going on there and posting Q&A probably 2 or 3 times a week on different, if I've got an active week of buying something, because often for some reason the use case I have isn't aligning with it. Like they're not in the list. Like I searched through and it's not there. Do you find people who are like communicating with their customers like, hey, would you please go post this question so that they can get some Q&A content? Or what do you find for people who are wanting to get more Q&A content?
Well, the best way to get more Q&A content is the same story with ratings and reviews, sell more product, right? And the more you listen to whoever's giving you whatever information and you tweak your listings and your product in order to meet that need, the more of that stuff you're going to get. A quick hack too, what's great about answering Q&A, like first of all, when I was a brand, I read every single review for every one of the products that I produced under my brand. 5-star, 1-star, everything in between. I literally sat down and read every week, every review that came through. And it was better than a focus group. I mean, Rick Cesare will tell you, focus groups don't work. They're being paid to sit there. Then they're not even sure there would be somebody who would give their credit card to buy the product that's
they're just there because they're getting paid to sit there.
They're just there. I got paid. I made $50 through college every time I sat through a TV show. I was in LA. I'd go in and sit through one of those TV show focus groups, and I'd be put in front of a show that I would never in a million years watch. But I was giving them my feedback because I was getting my $50 at the end of that hour, right? And that was how one of the ways I got through college is doing those little focus group things. And I always had a lot of distrust for them. But it's like, it's not a new concept. Rick did it in the 80s with the George Foreman grill that was a taco grilling machine. He found people that interacted and knew the product. Machine. It was before George Foreman. It was a taco machine. That's what it was made for.
Interesting.
He would fly people in to a lobby, a hotel, or he would rent out a room and he would interview real people who really paid for and bought the product. And he would have a list of 7 or 8 questions. He'd sit down with them on camera He said by the third or fourth person he interviewed, he already knew what the benefits of the product were and what the messaging in that DRTV ad were going to be. It's the same concept. It's just a lot less expensive to go through and read reviews.
Right, because the people were pissed off enough or they were happy enough.
That's right.
To leave you a review.
And even when they're pissed, you love that customer because they're telling you something that you need to hear, right? And it's great. And, it's something that we incorporate into our managed service business where we're like a fully outsourced Amazon department for pushing 120 brands.
Love it.
And, that's just one of the pieces of sort of monetizing that experience and pain and scar tissue, right? Will?
Yeah, that's where it came from, was that pain and scar tissue.
That's it. Those are the best memories. Those are the best learnings.
As you consider this journey of, this is one nugget of information that I began to monetize in upscaling my products. What do you consider other places where you've monetized your expertise or monetized knowledge over the years? Anything else coming to mind?
Well, a great example is I had an exit with my business. I was really happy. It was pre-aggregator days, so I wasn't totally happy.
Wasn't quite as good as some of the aggregator days got.
No, better than maybe today, but not 2 years ago for sure. Missed the peak season for sure. But then I wrote a book about it, and then Rick was the one that encouraged me to write the book, and I was like, dude, I got dyslexia. I can't write a book. It's like, what are you talking about?
So I love this. And you not only monetize knowledge, but you bundled it up into a book that you then used to, and would you say is the monetization of the knowledge in the book, so people buying the book, is that them looking at it and you being like, wow, that was a profitable journey? Or is it more about the prestige and, hey, I'm a published author? That's the helpful part from that side of it. Where would you say is more of the monetization coming from?
Good question. I wrote the book because Rick said you should write a book and I'll do it with you, right? I mean, never written a book if it wasn't for Rick, first of all, because he and I would sit down at coffee at the Issaquah Coffee House in Seattle, and we would swap war stories. And he would say, I had this product from J&J that was a dog one time. I took a look. I interviewed some customers and said, you just kill it. You guys cut your losses. This thing's never going to work. Or I would say, gosh, I had this product on Amazon. I thought it was a folding leg foosball table. I thought I was a genius. I was inventing a new category and it was a flop and it just didn't work because I didn't listen. We would have all these stories and he was like, you really know a lot about Amazon. I was like, well, it has been 17 years. He goes, let's put it in a book. And I was like, yeah, why not? What else am I going to do? Let's do it. I really am passionate about sellers and brands. In fact, our mission at Avenue 7 is to change the lives of sellers and brand owners. I'm passionate about it. That's what gets me up every morning. So I wanted to give away some secrets to how to do it without breaking the bank, how to organically start and launch an Amazon business with a focus on product, and how to, not pay a fortune in focus groups to get your data, where to go to get it so that other brands could realize their vision for their product line. That was the main core. What I found out is I started to get consulting calls and asking people wanted me to consult for them and help them with their Amazon business after out there. And I was like, this is great. Of course, I was a terrible consultant, Will, because you know how complicated Amazon is. It's freaking complicated. So I would sit down with a brand and I would say, oh, this is great. This is so easy. I would give them a list of 75 things to do. And I'm like, I'll be back next week and let's check in and see how much you got done. 2 months ago by, they couldn't do anything. Because they're running a business, right? And they don't know how, they didn't understand this. I took for granted the knowledge that I had from all those hard lessons learned on the Amazon platform, that everyone should know this. It's not that if I can learn it, everyone must know it.
So, okay, so hold on. You decided to bundle all of this together into a book. You got the consulting calls that came in, and eventually you figured out, okay, we're going to do this managed services thing. But as you decided to start bundling that information together, I mean, you mentioned that when Rick said, let's write a book, you were like, I have dyslexia. I don't know if this is a good idea. I have listexia, not dyslexia. I decided to swap the letters because
Perfect.
So I'm with you 100%. I mean, that must have been a little bit like, I don't even know what I'd put in a book. I mean, I know a lot of stuff, but organizing that, I mean, it sounds like Rick had some experience.
He'd written several books, and we'd have our Friday meeting, and then I'd tuck the kids to bed. They were younger, so they went to bed earlier. we'd have dinner with the family. I'd tuck my girls in, and then I'd go write for a few hours before going to bed. And Rick really helped with the structure, and we brought in sort of not necessarily an editor, but someone to help us like sort of with the structuring of it. And I'd write, she'd go in and edit and flip my letters back to normal, and and then you'd read the chapter, and I'm like, damn, that's really good. How did that happen? It just and it was it was effective and meaningful.
How long did it take? How many Friday nights?
About a year. Yeah.
Okay.
About a year.
So if you were to sum it up in hours, I mean, you mentioned, I'm guessing you were talking about like 3 to 4 hours of. We're going to go with
probably
3.
4 nights a week. Once in a while, I'd pound through 5 hours on a weekend if the kids were not home. If the wife was traveling with them or something. But
so would you say, okay, so you were writing, and was it just one night a week, or was it
about 4 nights a week probably?
Okay, 3
Friday
hours.
Night I was done. It was toast by Friday.
Man, so how many hours a week were you putting in that book?
I don't know, 12 hours to 15 hours a week, maybe.
Okay.
On top of building a business from zero,
Okay, so I mean, we're talking about 624 hours. If you did 12 hours, we're talking about 624 hours of your life that you gave to that book.
Yeah, and I loved it. It was meaningful and fun, and helped me relive some of the stories, and it tells a tale of how to survive and thrive on this Amazon platform.
So and this monetization. So if I wanted to go write a book, what would you say? I mean, obviously beyond call Rick. What would be your first, if I said, hey, you know what? I think I've got some knowledge automation. I want to go write a book. What would you tell me to go do?
Well, I would tell you, what's your story? What's the story that you want to tell? What do you think readers would really enjoy from your story that you have to tell? Be discerning. Ask yourself the question, you think, is this something people are going to read and go, wow, this is great. This is helpful. It's entertaining. It's telling me a story. And if the answer is yes, then I'd say get to work. Get your Word doc out. Find a couple of hours a day to start jotting down a rough outline, and then just write. What I did is I wrote one chapter at a time. And Rick, in his books and previous, he would write one chapter. Maybe he would start with like the 7th chapter. He would write it, close it out. Does it tell a thesis? Does it deliver on the promise from that thesis at the beginning? And then what's the next chapter? I actually did it in order. I don't know why, but maybe my dyslexia, I had to do it that way because I wanted I wanted that storyline to ring true all the way through. And I believe it does. And I would say get writing. Write the book. Once you could either hire someone. The editors are relatively inexpensive to partner with. You could hand over to them, make sure that they're doing some editing in your voice, and you could self-publish a book on Amazon if you want.
Yeah, there's lots of people in that.
I actually had a publisher that their name escapes me right now, but they came to me and wanted to take the story. I got introduced. I think I was a podcast guest, and the podcast host had a publisher. He says, "Oh, you should talk to my publisher." So I had a conversation with them, and they picked the book up, which was great. But get it wrote first, not write. Get it wrote, not write.
Get it wrote.
Then have an editor come in there, have them clean it up, and then figure out if you want to self-publish or you want to work with a publisher.
I love it.
It was an insanely meaningful experience for me. I enjoyed, I would say, every bit of it.
I heard you pause there.
Well, I didn't like going in and editing, but I didn't have to do that, right? We had somebody that came in and edited the stuff because I would miss things. I'm dyslexic. Jesus, I miss commas and periods, and I misspell things all the time. And so
I love it. So as you took, it sounds like what you did was you took all of that knowledge, across, and I'm sure there are things that, you didn't put in the book necessarily in different formats, but you really were about like, okay, I'm going to help some people, manage some of these dreams. They're going to make it to here. You took all of that knowledge and you distilled it down into the chapters of the book. And then you were like, okay, yep, I'm going to make some money by selling this. Did you, you said you've gotten consulting calls from it. Did you consider that when you very first got out there, that you were going to end up having people who would find you that way and come through?
I'm trying to think timing of it. I think I knew I was going to start an agency because, you mentioned James Thompson, a friend of mine. He said you should start an agency. Rick said I should start an agency. And I think the book was sort of the first step in that route to see if I had what it took to take my knowledge of brand building and turning into managing, 20, 30, 100 different brands and building up that process. And I don't know that I knew the answer to that question at the time I started writing the book. By the time I was done, I was like, okay, I think I got this. Started to have some consulting groups and realized I'm a terrible consultant. I hate consulting. But I was like, by the time my fourth entrepreneur that I was talking to said, I just can't get to it. I said, just give it to me. I'll build the team that will do it for you. We'll be your fully outsourced Amazon department. I know you're busy. I don't have any expectation that you should be able to do this stuff. Just give it to us. We'll do it for you. And then, we'll work out an agreement that makes sense for them. And that's worked really well.
As you considered like building and you decided to monetize your knowledge a step further by creating a full service agency. I mean, and you said initially it was the consulting thing. What drove you to open up an agency was that you were like, man, I'm giving all these people homework and they're not managing it. I've got to create a way that this can all come together. Is that how it all kind of came about?
Exactly. Again, my passion about writing the book was helping brands and sellers. And then when I was giving this advice and it was not able to be executed because they just didn't have the bandwidth, it was frustrating to me. I didn't really think about it as a business. I was just like, I know I can help you grow your brand. Just give it to me so we can execute for you. And I didn't even know that we were a managed service provider at that time. An investment banker told me later, oh, what you are, Jason, is you're a managed service provider. I was like, I didn't even know that was a thing. I just knew that I wanted to help these guys grow. They couldn't do it themselves. So we built the team in order to help them grow, and it's working. And that's all I know, right? And so that was kind of how it all evolved, Will. I wish I could say I was smart enough to have the foresight to think that this was going to build into a valuable business. I don't know. I thought it was just going to be a lifestyle business consulting and I'd help people here and there. But I am literally passionate about growing brands. Yeah. I push the hell out of our clients to grow and I can't help it. It's a disease, right? It's a problem.
I must see you grow. I mean, I think that's powerful though, because it helps you recognize the type of people. Like if they want to do this lackadaisically, I'm guessing that's probably not the right person.
That's right.
To be working with you in that way.
We're not great with lifestyle businesses here. I have nothing but respect and love for folks who want to have a lifestyle business. That's what we're trying to do here. We want to build the beginnings of what will become the next billion-dollar brands in the world. That's what we want to do at Avenue 7. And I am up their ass with a telescope and all of our people and everyone is saying, let's go. Let's figure out how we can grow these brands. And that's what gets me going, because here's why. People chuckled at me when I launched this thing and said, our mission is going to be to change the lives of Amazon sellers. And then one day, this guy, Mark Robinson, called me and said, I'm selling dog wheelchairs called Walking Pets, and I need your help. And I was like, I can't help you. You guys are doing $1 million a year. Well, we about 5X those guys just on Amazon. And then at one point, Mark calls me from a cell phone on a beach in Thailand. And Mark says, Jason, I'm in Thailand. I'm like, well, what are you doing in Thailand? He goes, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to do beach yoga or go scuba diving. I don't even have a return ticket. I'm like, how are you doing this? He goes, well, Jason, I sold my business. And the reason I'm calling you is I want to thank you and the team at Avenue 7 for helping make this happen. You were an integral part of my exit, and I'm loving life right now. I don't even have a return ticket. And I was just like crying. I was so happy for him, right? That's what it's about. That's why we're here.
That's the true monetization of knowledge is, I mean, in the book you mentioned it's the survival guide, right? Like this is, you might actually want to change the tagline to like, this is a thrival guide.
I like that word, and I'll have to give you credit for it in the next book. The next book will come out.
This is the thrival guide. I mean, you definitely have dug in to figure out there. So as you consider that journey, what would you say have been the biggest roadblocks to monetizing knowledge?
Ooh, that's a good question. I have been very, very lucky. I went in and I brought in an amazing executive team after like year 1.5, because I'd never built a services business. I had a really good friend from my CEO group His name is Dale Dabbs, best CEO I've ever met in my life. And he had just had an exit with a really big company, sold this company for like, he took it over when it was 2 million, sold it for 650 million to TransUnion.
Wow.
And they were a tech-enabled world-class service business.
Mm.
And he and I started talking, and when he retired, I was like, "Hey, what you doing now? You want to go golfing, or you want to hang out with me for a minute?" And I had asked him. I said, "Look, I thought this could be a lifestyle business. I'm not capable of running a lifestyle business because I want to grow this to be the best and biggest in the industry. And I know you've done it. How can we work together?" And so I hit a roadblock at one point, and luckily, by the grace of God, Dale Dabbs fell out of the sky into my life because he had this huge exit and was trying to retire. And I brought him in. I said, "Here's my roadblocks. Here's my issues. I'm managing myself with a small team, about 26 clients, and it's not scalable." And Dale came in and then brought his COO from Sontiq was his previous business, and then brought in his CTO, and he says, "Well, look, got to build some technology, but more importantly, Jason, we got to take what's between your ears, put it into a process in order to scale this business." And we developed something called the 7 Avenues strategy. There's literally 7 different unique avenues that you have to do really, really well in order to grow a brand. And there's different priorities. Not all avenues are somewhat equal, but sometimes in one quarter it's one avenue, in the second quarter it's another avenue. It's just these things just kind of rotate and move in and out, and they just get reprioritized. And so, I've been really lucky because I brought in Dale, I brought in the talent, and Dale will tell you, all I knew at Amazon was how to shop on it. I didn't know anything about it, but he understood the process of building that tech-enabled world-class service business, and now we're executing that here at Avenue 7. So I recognized the roadblocks before they became too intense. I brought in the talent, which is amazing talent, best in class in my opinion, in order to build out that team and that infrastructure and that company that will be a lasting company that meets the mission, changing landowners' lives.
I love it. The thing that really struck me is you said that is, he stopped you and said, we need to take what's right there between your ears and turn it into process, or you have nothing. And I think if any of the listeners have gone out and they've tried the consulting thing before and they're hitting that scaling limit, and they've heard of, standard operating procedures and writing things down and like developing a framework, I think one of the things that you've said that's really struck me is who, not how, right? Like you had to find somebody else who'd done it before, who'd picked that apart. So that's one thing I would say is go find a partner, go find somebody who has done this already. And then 2, don't be afraid to take it out of your brain and write it down on a list and get it into something that other people can follow.
And I would even say who then how, right? Like that's really important because, kind of the Avenue 7 way over here is when we evaluate departments or the company as a whole, we look at the people, the processes, the client value that the work brings, and then that leads to financial success. And, we reordered things because we realized that if you don't have the right seats identified, you don't put the right butts in the seat on the bus, the processes will be very bad. And they're not going to be optimal. The better the people, the better output on your processes. And the best people, in my opinion, are people who can take very complex ideas and dumb it down for a 6-year-old to understand.
Yeah,
That's the key to building really great, sustainable, profitable processes.
So think back for a second, and this question is going to take you back. You're calling that guy who's still in the Marine Corps. He's just read Rich Dad Poor Dad. Okay, so you pull out your cell phone, and it's like, holy crap, I can call him right now. What are you going to tell him about his journey? He's about to go on a crazy journey. 17-year survival, thriving, steamrolled. What do you tell him? What word of advice would you give him that might help him in his journey of monetizing knowledge?
Oh, gosh. That's a really, really good question. I don't think that entrepreneurship's for everybody, Will. I really don't, right? I think there's different kinds of entrepreneurs. Not everyone's cut the same way. But at the end of the day, we're calculated risk takers. And I would say before you cross that line of departure, make sure that you're okay with that. If you're not okay with it, just try it. What's the worst that can happen? Take the next year of your life and see what you can develop. And, follow I don't say follow your passion, because although that's what I did. Super duper hoop. I love basketball. I was a Lakers fan. I played basketball in high school. I really love basketball. So basketball hoops is the first product line that my brothers and I came up with, because we were just passionate about the sport. But it morphed into something so much more than that. And so if I could sum it down, the advice that I would give that person, I would say, you're ready. I know you're going to try 14, 15 different ways to convince yourself that you're not ready, but you're ready. Just go, right? Just go, and know that as long as you're learning and evolving along the process, and you're okay with that rinse repeat process of evolution, you're going to get there. It may not be what you cut out once you cross the line of departure, but at the end of the day, you're going to find what that business is.
I love it. Just do it.
Just do it, man.
Nike
the
nailed
best
that.
marketing campaign ever. Just freaking do it.
Just do it.
Yeah.
All right. So now, and I think you've done a fantastic job of describing what Avenue 7 is and helping people recognize where that is. But we're going to imagine that you stepped into an elevator and you happen to be going up the elevator, and the guy next to you is like, yeah, I'm an 8-figure seller. And then it's like, uh-oh, now I got to like introduce myself in some way that makes him want to call me later or something. I don't know. So you're going to have 60 seconds to introduce yourself to that guy. And you're in the elevator with him. And then right after that, I want you to tell me any tips, tricks, hacks, or books, apps that have changed your life in the past year. So you don't need to worry about the apps, tips, tricks, hacks, or books question yet. We're going to ask you that one again. But we're going to give you 60 seconds now. You stepped into the elevator with this guy. And what do you say to him?
Well, the first thing, I ask him questions about his business. What category are you in? Are you happy with your success on Amazon? What are some of your challenges? By the way, I've been on that platform for a long time. I've got 22 years of experience selling on that platform. It's backwards. It's very different. I know you know what I'm talking about. I've lived that journey building my own brand over 17 years. I wrote a book about it. And then I developed a world-class agency business to help support brands like yours. The game has changed in the last 2 years on Amazon. And I would love to, to have some to talk it through. If I can help you, I'll tell you I can help you. If I can't help you, then I'll let you know that too. So, it's never a minute.
Honestly, you did it in 45 seconds, because I still have 15 seconds left here. I think you did great. So
I want 15 seconds to hear what his big challenges are, so that I can let him know we can help him or not.
Beautiful. Yeah. So Jason, and tips, tricks, books, hacks, apps even that you've used in the last year that you're like, wow, this one, as you're moving into 2024, it's the end of 2023 now that we're moving out. As you move into 2024, you need to make sure that you pick up this book or pick up this app.
Well, I'm reading this book right now for like the third time, B 2.0. And it's, Beyond Entrepreneurship by Jim Collins and Bill Lazure. It's really good to help founders get beyond just the founder and help them understand how to build an existing company. And part of that is being able to trust talent. Founders and solopreneurs who start a business on their own, they have a hard time trusting and letting stuff go. I think that's a great book. There's another great book called Great CEOs Are Lazy by Jim Schlexer, which is a favorite of mine. It's another way to look at how to take that next step from founder to building a lasting business. In terms of hacks on Amazon, it's so funny. I was talking about this with my team recently, and I don't think we're in a period where hacks necessarily work on Amazon. That day is over. I used to have every hack in the book, and I did them all dozens of ways. But the best hack that you can do is listen to your customer and take action based on the gift that they're giving you to improve your product and service.
Yeah, those reviews.
Those ratings, those reviews. If you're a service business, same thing. Check in, survey them, ask them, and be open to it. Don't be defensive. Be open to it and make change based on that. That's the best hack there is. And it worked in 1980, just like it's going to work in 2023, and it's going to work in 2050. It's just the best hack there is.
Beautiful. Jason, thanks so much for joining us on this episode of Monetizing Your Mental Capital. I think there's some great nuggets there.
Thank you, Will. Thanks for having me. Pleasure being on the show.